5,000 ships, 13,000 aircraft, 156,000 men crossing the English Channel in the dark. The largest amphibious invasion in the history of warfare was launched against a coastline defended by some of the most fortified positions ever built. By the end of the day, more than 4,000 Americans were dead. But the line held, and the war turned. This is the story of D-Day, and most people only know half of it. Dwight Eisenhower made the decision on June 5, 1944, at 9:45 p.m. The weather was terrible. His meteorologist gave him a narrow window, one day, maybe two, of acceptable conditions. If he waited, the tides wouldn't align again for 2 weeks. 2 weeks meant more German preparation, more Allied soldiers sitting in English ports losing their edge, more time for everything to go wrong. He walked alone for several minutes. Then he came back and said 4 words. "Okay, let's go." He had already written the telegram he would send if it failed. He kept it in his pocket all day. The paratroopers went first. 13,000 men of the 82nd and 101st Airborne dropped into Normandy after midnight, hours before the beach landings. They jumped into darkness, into fog, into anti-aircraft fire that scattered their formations across 50 miles of French countryside. Soldiers who were supposed to land together found themselves alone in hedgerows, in flooded fields, in the middle of German positions. Private John Steele of the 82nd Airborne landed on the church steeple of Sainte-Mère-Église. His parachute caught on the spire. He hung there for 2 hours, playing dead, while a battle raged in the square below him. He survived. The town became the first French town liberated on D-Day. Staff Sergeant Harrison Summers had a different kind of night. Ordered to clear a series of farmhouses occupied by German soldiers near the beach exits, he was given a group of men who had never trained together and barely knew each other. He walked to the first farmhouse, kicked the door open, and went in alone. Then the next. Then the next. By the time it was over, he had cleared building after building almost entirely by himself, killing more than 50 German soldiers in the process. He was later asked why he did it. He said he didn't know. He said it seemed like the thing to do. At 6:30 in the morning, the ramps dropped on the first landing craft at Omaha Beach. Omaha was the worst of the 5 beaches. The bombers that were supposed to destroy the German defenses had missed. The clouds were too thick, the bombardment too cautious. The bombs dropped too far inland to hit anything. The naval guns had 40 minutes to do what the bombers hadn't. It wasn't enough. The men of the 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions stepped off the ramps into water that was sometimes chest deep, sometimes over their heads, under fire from bluffs that rose 30 meters above them. The German 352nd Division was entrenched in fortified positions that the Allied planners hadn't known were there. The beach was mined. The obstacles were still standing. The tide was coming in. In the first minutes, entire companies were destroyed. Men from the same town, the same neighborhood, the same family, gone before they reached the sand. Company A of the 116th Infantry Regiment from Bedford, Virginia, lost 90% of its men in less than 10 minutes. Bedford, a town of 3,000 people, lost 19 men on D-Day. Per capita, more than any other community in America. The town built the first national D-Day memorial in the United States. It stands there today. The beach should have failed. By every tactical calculation, Omaha should have been held. The Germans had the high ground, prepared positions, interlocking fields of fire, and an enemy coming at them across open water with no cover. What they didn't account for was what happened when American soldiers decided to move anyway. Brigadier General Norman Cota walked upright along Omaha Beach under direct fire. He was 51 years old. He found a group of Rangers pinned behind a seawall and told them, "Rangers, lead the way." They did. He then found soldiers from the 116th Infantry who hadn't moved and said something that became one of the most documented statements of the entire war. Two kinds of people are staying on this beach: the dead and those who are going to die. Now let's get the hell out of here. They moved. They climbed. One by one, then in groups, then in waves, American soldiers went up the bluffs that weren't supposed to be climbable. They attacked positions from the flanks, from angles the German gunners hadn't covered. By midday, the first soldiers were on top of the bluffs. By evening, Omaha was held. At Utah Beach, things went differently. The landing craft drifted 2 kilometers from their intended target due to tides and smoke, landing in a sector with lighter defenses. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr. He, son of President Theodore Roosevelt, was 57 years old, had a heart condition, walked with a cane, and had requested 3 times to lead the first wave personally. 3 times he was denied. He asked a 4th time. They let him go. He walked Utah Beach under fire with his cane, assessing the situation. When he realized they had landed in the wrong place, he made a decision that defined the entire Utah Beach operation. He said, "We'll start the war from right here." Utah Beach was secured with the fewest casualties of any Normandy landing. Roosevelt died of a heart attack 5 weeks later. He was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously. By nightfall on June 6, 1944, the Allies had established a foothold on 5 beaches along a 50-mile stretch of Normandy coastline. More than 400 Allied soldiers were dead. Thousands more were wounded. The German counterattack that Hitler's generals had been waiting to launch never came. Hitler, convinced the Normandy landings were a diversion, held his Panzer reserves back all day, waiting for an attack at Pas-de-Calais that never happened. The deception operation, called Operation Bodyguard, may have been the most consequential intelligence operation in the history of warfare. A fictional army group, fake radio transmissions, a carefully managed double-agent network, and a decoy general named George Patton kept Hitler's best armored divisions out of Normandy for the entire critical window. The window was enough. There is a letter Eisenhower wrote on the night of June 5th before the invasion launched that he kept in his wallet. It began, "Our landings in the Cherbourg-Havre area have failed to gain a satisfactory foothold, and I have withdrawn the troops." He wrote it because he believed he might need it. He accepted full personal responsibility for the failure in advance, before a single soldier had stepped onto a landing craft. He never sent it, but he kept it. It was found in his papers after his death, folded, slightly creased, carried for years by a man who understood what he had asked 150 people to do. The war in Europe would last another 11 months. Paris was liberated in August. Berlin fell in May 1945. The men who climbed the bluffs at Omaha, who cleared the farmhouses near the beach exits, who drifted 2 kilometers off course and started the war from right there. Most of them went home. Some of them didn't. The ones who didn't are buried in the Normandy American Cemetery above Omaha Beach. 9,387 graves in rows facing west, facing home. On a clear day, you can see the beach from there. You can see exactly what they crossed. The distance is short. The water is the same color. The math of what it took to cross it doesn't resolve cleanly either. The answer, as it turned out, was enough.